Alright, so I'm out on the brand new KTM 1290 Super Duke GT. This bike puts down 173 horsepower and just a tad bit over 106 foot-pounds of torque. It's an absolute monster. Before I get started with the on-bike review portion of this video, let me just say a real big thank you to John Ross and Ride on Moto, your authorized KTM dealer in Winchester, Virginia, for allowing me this opportunity to demo this bike and review it for you guys. Alright, so you're not just going to get my first impressions like a lot of review videos on YouTube are, where you're going out on just a quick demo ride and it's follow the leader type thing. I took this bike out and rode it quite a bit yesterday, ran almost an entire tank of fuel through it, and all different sorts of riding conditions. When you rode on the throttle, holy shit, is this thing fast. The front wheel may or may not have come up off the ground. Not right there, but when I first rode on it yesterday. Anyway, I probably rode right around 100 miles yesterday. Most of those miles I rode solo. Some of them I did ride 2-up just to check it out. This bike is equipped with a bunch of different electronic settings, which honestly I wasn't sure I was going to like, but are pretty damn cool. So when it comes to just your standard settings of dampening, you have you got a little stickman for solo up riding. You've got a stickman plus luggage for solo with luggage. And then you have 2-up, and then you have 2-up plus luggage. Those are just your standard settings. On top of that, you have 3 other settings in your menu when it comes to dampening. You have Sport, you have Street, and you have Comfort. I tried all those out yesterday. Honestly, Sport mode is my favorite. You can tell the difference between them. It does soften it up on Street mode, and does make it a whole lot softer on Comfort mode. But Sport mode, a lot of sport bikes, when you're going down the road on them on a really well conditioned road, they handle great. But you get it on a road kind of like what I'm on right now, or one that's a little patchy or a little rough, and all of a sudden the bike doesn't want to comply. It kind of bottoms out. It doesn't soak up the bumps. This thing, even in its stiffest mode, still handles like a dream, even across pavement with a lot of imperfections. That was one of the things that impressed me most about it yesterday when I was out riding it, is how well it does on roads that aren't great. And roads that are great, you just throw this thing into a turn, it sticks. And some of that might be due to the tires. It does come with Pirelli Angel GTs from the factory. It's got a 190 on the rear, so you do have plenty of rubber to make sure you can keep that side down on the road. Tested out in the rain, which means I got to test out rain mode. So, what are my thoughts on this bike? Well, first off, seating position is awesome on it. Got a nice upright seating position. No sort of stress on your lower back, knees, wrists, anything. Does not get much more comfortable. Probably the only downside to it is it does have a rather tall seat height. I believe it's about 32.5 inches. I am 5'10" with a 32-inch inseam. I don't really have any trouble sitting on it, especially, when you're riding it. It's very, very comfortable. But, even at a stop, it's fine. If you're much shorter than 5'10" and have an inseam, below 30 inches, you might have a little bit of trouble on it at a stop, but other than that, probably be okay. Alright, so when it comes to drive modes, right now I have it in Sport mode, which gives me the maximum amount of horsepower, the maximum amount of throttle response. I also have the dampening in Sport mode, which makes it its stiffest, at least for 1-up riding. I'll get into that more here in just a couple of minutes. Your other modes of drive mode are Street, which a little less throttle response there, and then you also have rain mode, which will limit the horsepower of the bike and keep you from losing, traction in the rain. I did get a chance to try out rain mode. Unfortunately, I got caught in rain a couple times yesterday. I attempted to break the back end of it loose. It won't let you. I mean, so rain mode is a really safe mode to have it in while it's raining outside. I mean, it did what it was advertised to do. I did put Kristen on the back yesterday. We did not go very far. We did some 2-up. I set the suspension to 2-up riding. It was really compliant. I was really impressed by it. It was spot on for what it needed to be compared to 1-up. The one downside is, you know, I don't know that this bike is really that great for 2-up riding because of what I'm about to talk about next. Power. This bike is so powerful. It makes 173 horsepower at the crank. I believe the magazines are saying right around 150. It's just crazy. I believe the magazines are saying it's right around 150 some at the rear wheel. It is so, how do I want to put this? It's just so abrupt. It's so fast. It just, when you roll into that throttle, it just takes off. That it was hard for her to stay on the back of the bike. And even holding on to me, you know, when I'd hit the throttle a little bit, she would tug on me, which pulls me back, which means I give it even more gas. It's probably best suited for 1-up riding. There might be, I'll have to check into it. There may be a top case available for it, and maybe if you had a top case that would hold your passenger on a little bit better. But honestly, I think this is a bike you want to probably ride 1-up most of the time. Speaking of, let me get back on the topic of power, just a little bit. The power is awesome. That is the only way I can describe it. It is awesome. It's smooth. The delivery is spot on. It's gonna make you laugh like a little kid the first few times you hit that throttle, and honestly, I don't think that's gonna go away. I think that's gonna stay for a long time. This is a bike you're gonna have a ton of fun on. Alright, so a few other things on the bike. First off, and these are just gonna be like some little things, maybe not big selling points, maybe they are some selling points for you. The mirrors on the bike, some of the best factory mirrors I've seen. You don't get your elbows caught in them. They're pretty wide, and they've got plenty of viewing range in the mirror itself. You can see behind you. Really good mirrors. This has never been a big selling point to me, but I know to a lot of people it is. It does have self-canceling turn signals, which I didn't realize until I went around a few turns and they were turning off on their own. They work really well. Lighting is superb. I'll get you a shot of that rear tail light, but it really, no pun intended, shines when you hit the brake light. I mean, that thing really lights up, got really good visibility. You also have LED turn signals on the front, which they're kind of cool. LED turn signals on the back. I also had this thing out last night, shortly after the sun went down, so I got to test out the headlight at night. Headlight does really well. High beam works very well. Shines far enough ahead. Now, with a bike with this much power, you can always outrun the headlight. But if you're taking it responsibly, we'll say, you got plenty of illumination in front of you. You shouldn't have any problems riding this thing at night if that's something you like to do. Okay, let's talk about the handling of the bike. How does it handle? It handles awesome. I don't know what else to say. I've ridden a lot of sport bikes in my time. Most, I'm not going to say all, most sport bikes, they're great. They all handle really, really well. Most of them have the shortcoming of when you know, I live in West Virginia. I'm sure some of you don't always have the best roads no matter where you live. And you get on a road that maybe it's a little patchy, or maybe, you know, the asphalt's just not great. It's a little graded up, and that's where sport bikes typically starts to fall a little bit short. You got to take it a little bit easier on them because, you know, they're not really made to handle those sorts of bumps mid-turn. This thing, you put it on a road that's less than optimal, it just soaks up the bumps and the imperfections in the road, no problem. It does not complain at all. Found that very, very impressive about this bike. Handling is awesome. It's also very nimble. I think it only weighs in a little over 450 pounds, so it's not that much heavier than, you know, most sport bikes out there. So excellent handling. Another great thing about this bike are the brakes. This thing is outfitted with Brembo brakes from the factory. I'll put the specs up of the size of the rotors you've got on the front. You've got stainless steel brake lines running to them. ABS, they are linked. One of the awesome things about this thing is you get into a turn hot, you get on those front brakes, these link brakes on this thing will smooth out that rear, level it out, and allow you to take that turn probably a whole lot faster than you thought you were going to be able to, because it settles that chassis out so well. I can't think of any sort of negative on these brakes. Really great initial feel and really great, you know, just bite. They work awesome. Alright, so what else can we talk about on this bike? It does come with factory saddlebags. They go great with the style of the bike. I do like them over my FJR bags simply because you can leave them unlocked and still open the bags with a button on them. My FJR, they're either locked or unlocked, and if they're locked, you can't open them. They also do have a built-in handle on them, so you can unlock them from the bike, carry them into your hotel room for the night. Of course, you can get bag liners for them. They also have a built-in like little mesh elastic thing to hold your stuff in there. Overall, really like the bags. The only, if you're gonna say it's a negative, I know some people prefer top-load bags. These are side-load. I don't have a problem with that, but it's just something to be aware of if you prefer the top-load bags. Some other features the bike has, you do have a voltmeter built into your display on here. You also do have heated grips, which you can access through the toggle over here. This thing, you know, I probably wouldn't be changing the settings a whole lot on it, but it is very, very easy to do while you're going down the road. You also have a tire pressure monitoring system on it, so you can keep track of, you know, the PSI of your tires. That's kind of a nice feature to have. In addition to that information, of course, you have a odometer, trip odometer. You've got oil temperature, outside air temperature, date, time. You've basically got it all. You do have a full functioning fuel gauge on it. I know some bikes still come without that for whatever reason, but something good to have. A couple other things that the display has on it. Obviously, you have an analog tachometer. You also have a gear indicator, and you have a digital speedometer that's really easy to read. At night, it lights up red, as does the menu over here. Both very, very easy to read. A couple other just like real little things. I'm trying to point out like all the little bit of different things, anything that's a little bit different than any other bike I've ridden. Of course, all bikes have little differences. My Suzuki SV650 does have one of the little flashers over here for my left finger, so you can flash the high beam when you want to let someone know you're passing. But this one, that actually is your high beam switch too. You just flick it out and that turns your high beam light on. If you look over here on the left side, you don't see your typical high-low beam switch. Not better, not worse. I do kind of like it though. It gives you more room to have this toggle over here to run the different settings on your display screen there. Also, this GT model does come standard with cruise control. Very easy to operate over here on the right-hand side of the handlebar. You just set it. It's typical. You got set, you've got resume, and you can also adjust it. Tried it out on the interstate last night. Locked it on about 76 or 78 mile an hour. Took both hands off the handlebar, which I don't recommend. Bike just stayed steady and true. Stayed right on the speed. No complaints about the cruise control. The cruise control works perfect. So, I've said the comfort on this bike is excellent. I've said the power is amazing. I've said the handling is great. I've said the brakes are unbelievable. But there's no such thing as a perfect motorcycle. So, what could be better about it? Number one, and this is a really, really small gripe, the bike is geared kind of tall. Taking off, because it makes so much power, I don't think that's really gonna bother you. What's kind of strange about it is with this 6-speed transmission, 6 gear, mark my words, absolutely useless below 70 miles an hour. No sense in even putting it in 6 gear below 70. It really needs to be up around 80, and honestly, it cruises perfectly at 90 in 6 gear. You might want to change the final gearing on it. I mean, that might be something to think about. I think it's fine the way it is, because to me, on most roads, third and fourth gear, so much fun. You're not gonna have to shift a whole lot because this thing is a torque monster. Well, another thing, and this is just it's a really small thing. To be honest with you, on my ride down the interstate, I was rather impressed by the wind protection that this small windshield gives. It does a pretty good job. However, out on the interstate, 70, 80 mile an hour, if you're gonna be doing longer runs down the interstate, I'm sure KTM and I'm sure aftermarket companies make a little bit larger windshield for it. That might be something to consider, but for the type of riding I would do on this bike, I'd probably leave this one on. I don't know, I might try out a little bit larger one if you were gonna think about doing maybe some overnight trips on it. Speaking of overnight trips, I think this would be an excellent, I'll call it light duty sport touring bike. Honestly, I think you could ride this thing 500-600 miles in a day and not really think a whole lot of it. I think it's that comfortable. That said, I do have one major gripe if I'm supposed to take this thing touring. And I will research this in case there's one available, but that is the lack of a center stand. Why is that such a big deal to me? Well, it's chain drive, which means I'm gonna have to lubricate the chain at the end of a long day. And without a center stand, it means I'm gonna have to do it the old way of lube the chain, push the bike forward, lube the chain, push the bike forward. Granted, a minor inconvenience, but if I were able to have a center stand, that'd be awesome. And again, I'll look into it. I just don't know if there's room for one because the exhaust comes right up underneath the bottom of the bike there, and I don't think there's room for one. Maybe not a deal breaker, but definitely a negative for me. All right, so anything else about the bike I don't like? This isn't something. Okay, so here are two things. These aren't necessarily negatives for me. I have a feeling these will be the two biggest things that people have to say. Number one, the look of the bike. I will go on record and say this is not the prettiest bike I have ever ridden, but that it is very cool looking and unique. But like with any sort of bike or car or anything for that matter, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Excuse me. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and you'll have to decide if you like the way it looks. Personally, I think it looks like something Batman would ride, and I think it's cool as hell. The other big thing that people are probably gonna knock on it, if there is anything else, and I am not gonna count this as a negative myself, I'm just gonna say this is something that you might consider a negative, is the price. This is not an inexpensive motorcycle. I would not expect it to be. It has top-notch everything. It's gonna come in around $20,000. Okay, so if you don't have $20,000 to spend, this probably isn't the bike for you. But if you do have $20,000 to spend and you like motorcycles, I don't think you're gonna be disappointed at all. So just my final thoughts on this KTM 1290 Super Duke GT. To me, it's probably the best street bike I've ever ridden. It's probably the best do-it-all motorcycle, at least in my opinion. This would be the one that if I was going to go out and ride with my buddies for a couple hours on some back roads, I would take this bike. If I was going to ride to work and commute each day, I would take this bike. If I was going to do an overnight, maybe a weekend trip, I would take this bike. If I was just going to ride down to the store, I would take this bike. That to me is the definition of a do-it-all bike. Again, big thank you to Ride on Moto, Authorized KTM dealer in Winchester, Virginia, for allowing me the opportunity to ride this bike and review this bike. So, as usual, thanks for tuning into my channel. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I will talk to you guys again soon. So much fun. So much fun.